You can't control people. You can't control what people are going to say. People are going to say what they're going to say, and it's usually more about who they are than who you are. I think as girls, we're socialized to really worry about what people think about us, and you just have to develop a case of the efforts. And so a lot of it is really letting go of really just caring about what people think about you.
Hey, I'm Armando Leduc, producer, film actor, and owner of Leduc Entertainment. I've chosen a life off the beaten path and wanted to find others that are doing the same. Spaghetti on the Wall is a show based on all of the years that I've thrown spaghetti on the wall and nurtured what stuck. We will share fun stories, ideas, tips, tricks, and more. Welcome to Spaghetti on the Wall.
Sara Williams, ladies and gentlemen, for another episode of Spaghetti on the Wall. How are you?
Fantastic.
I can't wait to get into some stories. I think stories are a good way for us to really get some insight into who you are and how you operate and why you do the things that you do. So let's talk about that. So how did you get started on becoming an attorney? Why an attorney?
Well, I was a reader, and that was about all I had going for me. I was a reader and a writer, and I didn't want to teach kids in school at the time. Now I'm a professor, but and so I don't have like some lawyers have a great origin story where it's like, something bad happened in their lives. For me, it was I didn't want to be poor, and I didn't want to teach kids, and there aren't a lot of things you can do when you have the ability to read a lot and analyze what you've read. And so law school was the path for me early on. But then I attended Cumberland School of Law here in Birmingham and started doing mock trial. And that's when I figured out, like, I want to be a trial lawyer. So my discovery in terms of what I wanted to do with a law degree happened in law school.
Gotcha. And so you became an attorney. What else do you do besides when you're not doing attorney stuff?
So when I'm not doing attorney stuff, I do a ton of thought leadership in terms of empowering women lawyers. I teach at the law school that I attended, Cumberland, here in Birmingham. This year, I'm serving as the visiting director of Advocacy program. So I oversee all the mock trial, ADR, moot court. And then in my spare time, I also coach a mock trial team. And I've got a family, so sometimes I'm a mom.
Heard that. How do you balance it all?
I have a great support system. My husband does a lot at home, and he has a ton of family here in Birmingham that we rely on. My mom comes up from Tallahassee a lot. I have a great team. My support staff are A+. There's no way I'd do it without a killer, case manager, paralegal. So yeah, I just have a great team, great group of people surrounding me.
So talk to me a little bit about this thought leadership, that you do, and what are you doing to, I guess, promote the empowerment of women attorneys?
Yeah, so I do a mixed bag. I have short form video content that I push on LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook. And then I can be found speaking a lot. This year I really focused my speaking engagements on women's groups. And so most of my yeses this year were to women's groups, panels. I do a lot of mentoring. Most law students these days, most law schools are 51% or more women, but obviously we're seeing a huge drop off in the industry once those women enter the industry. And so my ultimate goal is through that thought leadership platform, through the speaking engagements, through the videos, to ensure that women don't feel alone and that they know what they're experiencing is a common, experience, and they feel connected to someone.
So what do you talk on? What are the subjects?
It runs the gambit. So some of it is, talking about how to overcome some of the self-limiting beliefs that being socialized as a girl and being socialized as a woman in the profession create. And I believe those self-limiting beliefs are what keep us from going next level in our careers. And so then I talk some about that, about building a brand, about networking, about the skills that you need, and that you have really to be successful, and how to overcome those limiting mindsets. And then once you've overcome them, how to apply certain skills to building business, because that's the way, being invited to the table, you're always going to be an invitation versus building our own table. And then I also talk about trial skills and the skills that you need to be a trial lawyer and an effective one, because obviously I teach, and that's at the heart of everything I do.
So talk to me about how to build your own table.
I think, this is world takeover and domination, I think as women, we have to first develop our own books of business. And I do a keynote called "You Are the Superhero and Not the Sidekick," because I realized when I took on the managing role that I allowed the firm's brand to supersede my own, and that I was working very hard to build a business for someone else versus building a business for myself. Versus, building a referral network for myself. Women don't refer each other enough business. This idea that to be in the boys club, when we get business, we have to refer it to them, versus building our own table where we control our destinies. And so I think the idea that we have to continue to ask to be invited to speak at events, and we have to continue to ask to be in leadership. When you have your own business, I like to say cases make queens, right? When you have your own business, you control your destiny. The queen is the most powerful piece on the chessboard, right? She moves the way she wants to move. You can't have the flexibility that you want. Like I can be the type of mother that I want because I develop my own business and I control my own destiny. I don't have to ask for permission to leave work to go and see my kid in a play for 10 minutes at school, right? Because if someone has a problem with that, I'm good. I can pack up my whole team and go somewhere else. And that's the freedom that I want for all women.
So building your own table is building your own business.
Building your own business.
So part of your, how long is your keynote?
That keynote is 45 minutes.
And so you're talking about starting the business and the different things to, I guess, bring new business to you?
I start off by talking about, and I do this with anytime I speak anywhere on any subject, because I believe people cannot receive information until they're in the right mindset for it. And so the first thing I start off with, and I think stories is what connects people, is my story. It's the, I'm not Robin. I'm Batman too. My boss loves to call himself Batman. And one day we were arguing and I said, the problem is I'm not Robin. I'm Batman too. And that was the moment for me where I realized I had to pivot. And I think that a lot of powerful, smart, talented women find themselves in that same role. And so I start off that talk with talking about recognizing when you're in that role, and then how to get out of it, how to build your own brand, how to then how we as women can then refer each other cases, and why that's important. I think that the importance of collaboration is often lost when you are struggling in a male-dominated industry and you're just trying to be recognized as relevant, versus not worrying about, being recognized as relevant, building your business and building a network of our own with each other such that we make those decisions and we don't have to necessarily, beg for recognition.
So do you have a Facebook group of different female attorneys? Like, are you building a networking sort of place where everybody sort of knows each other?
So I have not myself. I'm working on a book and that will probably spring from that. But I am in there are so many women's groups out there. I am a member of like 10 women lawyers groups. So I don't know that I need to add another one, but I try to be very active in those.
Cool. And so when you're in these groups, what kind of content are you putting out?
It's the same content. Most of these groups, without divulging too much, because I think a lot of what we do is discuss some of the issues that come up for women that people don't feel comfortable talking about, sexual harassment, being, talked down to at conferences, and how to overcome certain challenges that you don't feel comfortable talking to people about, because a lot of times folks say, well, maybe it was something else. But then there's also networks of women who are dedicated to referring business to each other, where we will post, if I have a case, with digital marketing, all of us are getting cases all over the place. So I may have someone who's in Texas who wants to refer a case to me, or who has a case that they're interested in finding a lawyer there, and they're looking for someone to connect. I think that that's important, connecting other women lawyers and helping each other build our businesses.
So what are you telling them when they're in a situation, where they are being, talked down to? What are some things that you tell them to like implement? What are some implementation strategies?
My biggest thing is, you can't control people. You can't control what people are going to say. People are going to say what they're going to say, and it's usually more about who they are than who you are. You can't allow... I think as girls, we're socialized to really worry about what people think about us. And you just have to develop a case of the efforts, and not necessarily let it roll off. I tend to face those things head on, in terms of challenging people when they, confuse me for the court reporter. Why would you... I've got a briefcase and a case file. Why would you think I'm the court reporter? But I also think that they are distractions. Like you can get really caught up in worrying about, oh my gosh, they thought I was a court reporter, and it can ruin your day. And you're not focused on doing the best job for your client in that deposition. And so a lot of it is really letting go of really just caring about what people think about you.
How do you do that? How do you let go of not worrying about what people think? Because I think that might not just be a lady problem. That's also a man. I just think that's a human problem.
Yeah,
I
think you're right. And that I do. I think you're right. I think we worry way too much about what people think. I think that it is a process. Like, it's not like you're going to wake up tomorrow and say to yourself, oh, who cares how I look on the podcast? Clearly I care, right? You get your hair done. You put some lip gloss on. But I think that it becomes important. That's why I think being involved in different groups and finding your people is important. I think the support of a group of people who always have your back, because we do kind of need affirmation, right? I think as human beings, we need connection. That's just a biological fact. And so I think the best way to not worry about the negative is to surround yourself with people who are constantly feeding you positive energy.
You think that it's something, you think that is a personality trait of people that either take things more personally than other people?
I think it's...
What is the difference?
I think it's less of a personality trait and more of... I think a lot of things that we internalized growing up, especially those of us who are millennials and have parents who, these parents these days are into this gentle child rearing. Those of us who were not raised as gently, I think, we're just hypersensitive because we walked on eggshells a lot. Nobody was really worrying about our feelings when we were in school, right? And so I think that things like that develop. I've seen things. I have a 10-year-old, and I am very cognizant of how people speak to her and very protective because I think that a lot of the ways we were dealt with as children kind of developed these anxieties later on. And I hope to avoid that for her. Obviously, I can't be everywhere with her. But it's important to me that she be surrounded by people who speak positively towards her about things. And even, I've had conversations with her teachers when they've said things and I'm like, hey, there's a better way for you to say that thing, at least to my kid. And so I think that's primarily what it is, how we grew up. Yeah.
What are those conversations like when you're talking to the teacher about how they need to be talking to your kid? So you guys, you're doing a lot of public speaking. Is that the direction that you're wanting to go in? Like, book writing, public speaking, becoming an influencer?
Yeah, I think that it's important. I think that women who have achieved in this industry, especially as a Black woman, right, in Alabama, to have managed a law firm the size of ours, we've got over 100 lawyers in 10 states, is something that women need to see. Like, I think it's important to know that it is achievable in a way that you can achieve it and maintain your authenticity and who you are. I think that's important. And I've gotten to the age, you hit your mid-40s, you start thinking about what your legacy is. And I love trying cases. I handle primarily trucking, catastrophic injury cases. But what is my legacy? Like, what impact am I going to leave on the world? And I think that is, if I never resolve or try another trucking case, if I have, like this weekend, I was at a conference and I had a woman come up to me and say, I was at your keynote when you did the first, you're the superhero, not the sidekick. And it was the push for me to leave the firm that I was in and go to another firm. And I'm in a much better situation with the group that is elevating me and helping me build a book of business and helping me grow. That to me is more important to my legacy than money.
No, that's great. So helping out, empowering, and is that the name of the book?
The name of the book is Feminine and Formidable. It is empowering women to shed these ideas that, our femininity is somehow based in and submissive and not being powerful. Like there have been powerful women since women have existed on this earth.
Right.
And that does not make you any less feminine. And so it really deals with my thought leadership, shedding the self-limiting beliefs and understanding where those come from and not beating yourself up about them, understanding that, little kids are so confident. Like, I watch my daughter and how confident they are. And I remember how confident I was. But then as you grow, the world just keeps beating you up. And I actually don't think that's just women. I think women and people of color, like, you come out, right? You come into the world and you're young and before you know that, or you're trained to feel like you're less than, you don't. And so it's part of recognizing that these aren't innate thoughts, that this was overlaid on you for years and years and years. And it can be shed and you can move forward. That's the ultimate premise of the book, and how to do that and how men can help, be great allies. I have had tremendous male mentorship and sponsorship and allyship that has helped my career. And so I think it's important to recognize that too.
Do you find that as you are writing and creating, it's reinforcing the message?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, it reinforces it for me because I still slip into self-doubt and holding myself back and worrying about, what do people think? Are they thinking, oh, Sarah, look at Sarah, she's not lawyering, she's influencing and whatever else. And figuring out that I can do all of these things. Like, I don't have to be one thing. You can't, there's no box for me that exists. Like, I create that. But sometimes, all of us slip a little bit back into old ways. And so it's good. Like, when I go back and review my edits, I'm like, Yeah, wait a minute.
Yeah, for sure. Do you lean on your support system, like in these groups when you are also feeling, those struggles at those moments where it's not as confident? Like, who do you lean on? I mean,
So I have an amazing
probably your
group of
husband.
friends from law school. We call ourselves Super Seven. I went to the widest private law school in the country, but somehow, at that time, there was a collection of just the most amazing group of Black women, and so they're my support system. And I've developed a group of friends locally. I am less inclined, like in Facebook groups, to like post things, right? Some people will share it all. Sometimes on my social, I'll talk about things that I'm struggling with, because I do think it's important to be vulnerable and to let people know, like, the people you look at as successful also struggle with these things too. But when I'm really deep in it, I rely on my girls.
That's awesome. Do you provide mentorship?
For sure. I think we are a constant circle. Obviously, we've evolved a lot. I graduated law school 17 years ago now. So, yeah, we've evolved a lot, and we support each other through those evolutions.
If somebody wanted to reach out, like, to you for mentorship, do you do one-to-ones?
Yes, I mentor a lot of folks, but I will say, what I'm really good at is connecting people with local mentors, because I do think it's important. Obviously, everyone doesn't want to do what I do. And I think when it comes to being mentored, you need to find someone that's on the path that you're on, that you want to be on. But I would love to, if anyone wants to reach out to me at Sara Williams ESQ on Instagram, slide into my DMs. I will gladly, we are constantly building these networks of women, lawyers and law students and allies. And so I'm more than willing to plug anyone in.
Awesome. So that's the call to action is to reach out
Absolutely.
to you via Instagram. And are you looking to increase your public speaking engagements? Like, do you want more speaking engagements too?
I do. I will tell you, I took on this job at the law school. We were out visiting a director. And so right now I'm like treading water. And so my plan is really starting in January, because this engagement ends in August of 2024. And so that pivot is going to be after this. I made a commitment to this gig. Between that and practicing law, it's probably most of what I can do. And I say no to a lot of speaking engagements. So I think I have the right balance right now.
Gotcha. So you just want more cases right now. And when you say gig, is that where you're currently at? Or?
Yeah. So I'm still practicing. I have somehow 2 full-time jobs. So I'm still practicing. I'm still handling several wrongful death cases, and actually just got a call on another one. And I am the director of advocacy at Cumberland School of Law. And then in summer of 2024, I'll be publishing my book. So look out.
That's awesome. So you want to definitely get some more eyeballs on your book too.
For sure.
Cool. So that'll probably be the. That's awesome. All right, cool. So let me ask you. So in final, Sara, thanks so much for coming onto the podcast. Amazing interview. So I know you have a book coming out, and you already said that people can find you on Instagram. Are there any other platforms that you would like to let people know about?
Instagram is the easiest way to contact me. Obviously, I'm on LinkedIn like every other good professional, and Facebook as well.
Fantastic. All right. Well, Sara Williams, thanks so much for being here.
Thank you for having me.
100%. And that was Spaghetti on the Wall, ladies and gentlemen, brought to you by Leduc Entertainment. For all of your digital marketing needs, podcasting, we got you. And you can watch Spaghetti on the Wall anywhere where you can watch a podcast. So you're probably watching it right now. And we'll see y'all next week.